all
Who gives a
those
shit about
around you.
yourself? I mean, it's about what other people think of it. Hey there, party people. Welcome to People Stuff, a weekly anthropological advice show hosted by me, Michael, and my colleague, Dan. Remember, we're anthropologists and we know stuff about people.
People stuff.
This week, we're talking about sports gambling, AI and automated officiating, and children's sports. We're really hitting all the highlights.
Oh, yeah. Finally, an episode where we get to talk religion. Americans may talk a great church game, but they really worship sports. Every child must play all of the sports. Every school must offer and compete in all of the sports, not European ones. All politicians, all flags, all members of the military must get routed through sports in some way, shape, or form. Senators would rather be called coach than senator.
Well, just the one, really.
Just you wait. He's not the first. Or he is the first. He won't be the last. There's no greater honor than a career in professional sports, and there's no greater halo effect than to be around a professional athlete.
That's so true.
There's no bigger media occasion than our annual sports championships. Americans love sports so much that they make up game after game after game, play each other those made-up games, and they declare themselves the world champion. Clifford Geertz, noted anthropologist, was right. Just about anything you want to know about American society is there in sports. What makes a man, Michael? What makes a woman? What does a winner or loser look like and act like? What's good competition? What are the aesthetics of human
Okay, enough from you, Dan. That's enough rambling. I mean,
I got more. You want more? I got more.
No,
copy.
from this ramble, I would almost think you don't like sports. But
I just see how important it is.
Yeah, well, okay. But don't you know we have a guest this week? We are delighted to welcome to People Stuff, John Florio. John is an author, a real author whose work people read, a journalist, and he's on the writing faculty at the University of Southern Maine. He's written quite a bit about sports. Isn't that right, John?
I have. I've written One Nation Under Baseball and One Punch from the Promised Land. That's a baseball and a boxing book. One Punch from the Promised Land isn't a baseball and a boxing book. That was a baseball book and then a boxing book. And I've also written about sports for the New Yorker, the Atlantic, and ESPN as well. So
you only write about sports that were popular 100 years ago.
Well,
baseball and boxing. Do you do anything in the contemporary world, John?
Are you
Or
recapturing
just
your
stuck
youth?
in the
Is that
past,
what's
like
going
the rest
on?
of our guests?
This is actually, maybe we can run the show as a rerun from 50 years ago and say that, and then I'll be relevant. No, actually, I do write about sports history, a lot about sports history and culture, which is why I'm interested in people stuff, because a lot of that borders on anthropology.
Excellent.
In my mind, you guys can tell me whether I'm right or wrong.
No, I absolutely agree with you.
Oh, no. Anthropologists famously don't know what anthropology is, so you probably have a better sense of it than we do.
They also famously don't really know much about sports. So
No.
Especially Dan. Yeah.
As will become apparent over the next hour. So, John, you're a highly trained, highly competent writer who has a lot going for him. You wanted to come on this show because you wanted to explain that sports is anthropology. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, I wanted to come on the show because I like the show. And who better for a sports episode to keep you guys honest than me?
We got a human lie detector. This is great.
No, sports history and sports culture and anthropology really do intersect. So I'm curious to see where you guys are going to go with this today.
Well, let me start out by asking you the hardest question you're going to get in this episode.
Isn't there like a solid contingent of sports people out there, like sports journalists, who are like, stick to sports, don't talk about the culture stuff?
Oh, yeah, very much so. And that's... And they don't say that to us because we do owning the culture part. Well, when I say us, I'm talking about my co-writer and I. Weezy Shapiro is my co-writer. So when we do sports and nonfiction, so we do mostly the culture part. We're not really beat reporters and covering the game, but we do analyze what went on during the games.
So they sort of pretend you guys don't exist.
I think a lot of dated guys who just want to score don't know we exist, but I think people who are interested in sports history and culture, that's our sweet spot.
So I have to ask you the most important question and the hardest question. Was this World Series in 2025 the best World Series ever?
Oh, my God. I think so, right?
Yes.
I mean, and, Ohtani's just doing stuff that, sports history. I hope I'm around 30 or 40 years from now because they're going to be writing about him. The guys who are on our bookshelf are going to be looking at what's going on right now.
Yeah.
I mean, he's pitching and he's hitting, both of them on an elite level. It's just never been seen. I mean, even Ruth, who did both, he wasn't doing them both on this level in the same game, you know.
That's right. There you have it. John Florio, noted sports historian. Ohtani better than Babe Ruth.
See, this is why people don't trust anthropologists. That's
Well, as per tradition, we start every episode with an anthropological reflection on some fresh hell in our world. Dan, what fresh hell is on your mind?
Well, I wanted to talk about a topic that I know even more about than sports, so I decided luxury French fashion should be the way to go for this fresh hell.
Wow, you're really betting 1,000 in this episode, Dan. You're really, way to go.
And I know what that means. See, I'm so qualified. Have you heard of a Birkin bag, Michael?
Yeah, I live adjacent to Beverly Hills. I have seen Birkin bags, Dan.
What do you know about Birkin bags?
They're very expensive, and they're from Hermès, the fashion house, and they're very expensive, and there's a waiting list, and it's a lot of competition to get one, I think.
Aha. So there's a waiting list and there's competition. So you couldn't just walk in with your people stuff bucks into an Hermès boutique and buy one of these.
I could
right?
because I'm a famous podcaster, but most people couldn't.
And your long patronage of your local Hermès store has led them to strike up a rapport with you that they would sell you anything you want, right?
I will have you know, my commute does cross over Rodeo Drive, yes.
Well, you'll be shocked
I see the
to know
Hermès store every day.
that two shoppers who wanted to buy a Birkin bag but could not buy a Birkin bag from the Hermès in San Francisco have decided to sue the company in a class action lawsuit for withholding the bag and arguing that their withholding of the bag violates antitrust laws.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's such a great argument.
I guess if you have the money for a $10,000 handbag, you also have the money to sue people with reckless abandon.
What? They're only $10,000? I thought they were like $50,000. How gauche. People who
Well,
have $10,000
that's
can buy
primary
them?
retail.
Oh, okay.
Then the secondary market, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
There we go. There we go. I think it's great. I mean, tell me more about this lawsuit because I'm very interested in it.
Well, I don't think it has high hopes of succeeding, but like if you think about this, Hermès wants to cultivate a relationship with these high-end shoppers, and presumably if you're in their good graces, they will sell you the cool shit. I don't think suing them is going to accelerate that component of the relationship.
Yeah. Well, okay. I mean, I think it's fine. Okay. I mean, if you're the type to buy a $450,000 vintage Birkin bag, I mean, I think you deserve to be sold a package, right? I mean, the point and value of a luxury good comes directly from its scarcity. I think kind of like Tina and Mark, I apologize, but you got to have a bit more cash on hand. You can't get a new one. Just go to the secondary market. You know, it's a market. It's there for everybody.
John, where did you get your first Birkin bag?
At the Hermès store.
I don't
on
know.
my
The first one was so long ago. I mean, I could tell you I got my 73rd one at through the mail. In secondary market, I don't like to disclose my sources.
He probably got his directly from Grace Kelly when he was writing about boxing back in the 1950s.
No, it's
or
this
something.
great Hermès boutique in Guangzhou, China. They send it right to you.
Oh, yeah.
I would bet that there's not an author in the country who can afford a Birkin bag, and a sports author too certainly can't afford a Birkin bag. So I'm out.
Okay. Is this how like Stephen King like he swags around the author conferences with his Birkin bag, knocking into people?
Stephen King is A-list. That's different. Stephen
A-list can afford
A-list. A-list can afford the Birkin bag.
Well, I mean, I guess the ultimate question is, what does Stephen King keep in his Birkin bag?
Not cocaine anymore.
No, not anymore. I mean, but does he have a smaller bag for his cocaine now? He can't take a Birkin bag full of coke anymore.
A valet wanders around with it.
I mean, actually, I'll tell you what. If you really want a Birkin bag and you're in Los Angeles, the thing to do is to hang out by the port of Long Beach and break into one of those shipping containers on the train, because that's where you'll find all the luxury goods being shipped around the country.
I mean, I guess this defeats the purpose of having an authentic Birkin bag, but if you're willing to spend $10,000 or $20,000 on a leather handbag, for a fraction of that, you could pay an artisan to make you an identical copy of a Birkin bag or whatever else you want.
Oh, Dan. Sometimes, like, you don't understand how this works. I mean, I know you fancy yourself an economic anthropologist, but do you understand anything about the economy? What good is a handcrafted bag if nobody knows what it is?
But you will think it's beautiful, and its aura will captivate all
Who gives a
those
shit about
around you.
yourself? I mean, it's about what other people think of it. That's where the value comes from. That's the economic point.
I mean, we shit on Anthropology a lot, but it's really nice that it actually is a group of people that would never care about a Birkin bag.
No. But what if they made a scarf?
Oh, be careful. Be careful.
Okay. There's our inside anthro joke for the day. Now let's move on to our first question. Are you ready?
Ready.
Propped Up writes, "Gentlemen, love the pod. Listen to it on long runs when I go on a brain journey and imagine my 4-year-old juggling machetes like an Aka child. Anyway, I'm writing you with something of a philosophical question. These are my favorite. I'm a AAA ball player, not a pitcher, but can't really tell you more for reasons that will become apparent shortly. You may have noticed that sports gambling has taken off like wildfire over the last couple years, particularly prop bets. In case you don't know, prop bets are bets on specific outcomes or things that a player can do in a given game. The thing about a prop bet, particularly in baseball, is that any given thing a player does, like pitch one ball into the dirt, bloop a pop fly, etc., aren't really likely to swing a game one way or another. As players, we basically want to win and don't really care about all that incidental stuff or your fantasy team or whatever. So my question is, given that everyone and their mother is betting on sports, is it okay to bet on ourselves and rig a prop bet here and there? How should I think about this? And maybe more importantly, how should I talk to the guys who are on the other side of your advice? Answer quick. The average pro sports career is shorter than you think. Sincerely, Propped Up."
Okay. I want to start off by splitting the answer, because, like, I think Propped Up is taking a lot of this on his own shoulders, when in fact this is like a big picture baseball problem. I mean, baseball famously has a monopoly, like MLB has a monopoly on baseball. And, you know, over the last couple of years, since sports gambling became legalized at the federal level, there's been this gold rush of new gambling companies opening up, and sports leagues pairing up with these gambling firms, to the point that you can't really watch any sport without seeing odds displayed, advertisements all the time about prop bets, betting lines, spreads, whatever.
Right.
So, like, there's this larger environment that Propped Up is in that is really not his fault and not the fault of the other people that are on his team. So, like, there's some big questions for these big professional sports leagues that, like, there really is, like, you're really tarnishing your image as like a purveyor of a sport that is fair and that the outcome is undetermined.
Blah, blah, blah. You're really also really gilding your bank account. So let's, turns out, Dan, people love to gamble.
Yeah. But like, if probably the sports league shouldn't be like getting rich from gambling. I don't know, John, you're the professional sports guy.
You guys, well, first of all, this gets back to that A-list thing we were talking about before. AAA ball players don't make a lot of money. So it's not like he's really, I'm assuming, Propped Up is not gilding his bank account. I mean, and I could see where in some cases, those prop bets, you could tell somebody, hey, if you don't throw a ball a certain speed, throw a slider instead of a fastball, still throw a great slider just to make sure it's not over 95 miles an hour. And you can win this bet and make a lot of money. I mean, in the player's mind, they're thinking, well, I'm not really throwing the game. I'm not letting my teammates down. I'm still performing at a high level. But there's a real aspect to this. I mean, Dan, your answer was anthropologically sound, I'm sure. I'm not an, not an
completely irrelevant.
I trust really. You. It wasn't that anthropologically sound.
All right. Well, there's Michael's weighing in. He knows.
Oh, yeah, Michael. What would Levi Strauss say about this? Tell us.
No, I'll tell you later. I'm interested in hearing John's answer.
Well, Propped Up probably knows now that just yesterday, I mean, the case with Luis Ortiz and Emmanuel Clase, who were doing that very thing on prop bets, they were the first pitches of innings, they were throwing a ball in the dirt. And I shouldn't say they were doing that thing. They both pled not guilty, so maybe allegedly. They were not doing that thing. They allegedly were doing that thing. But they've been indicted by the feds, and they can do. Nobody expects this, but they could do on charges up to 60 years in prison.
6-0?
Yeah,
6-0.
because it's 5 charges. Each takes up to 20 years. If they're served sequentially instead of concurrently, it would be 60 years. Nobody expects that if they're found guilty, it would be that high, but it could be. So in addition to being thrown out of the game, propped up, in addition to being thrown out of the game, could land behind bars. So my advice is not to do it.
So wait, what is the crime?
I don't remember exactly, but there was, it's not throwing a ball game. It's, gambling
like
over state
fraud
lines or whatever.
It's
wiring.
it has to date from the racketeering or mafia stuff. It has to date from the
Like
mafia
some kind of
crackdown.
fraud or something?
Yeah.
Well, this is great. The lawyers can write into the show and tell us how bad we are at this.
And the lawyers can help me on that too, yeah.
But I mean, this is a great point. So like I was trying to get at, however imperfectly, the fact that corporate baseball as an organization, has made some decisions that have made propped up's life very difficult. Now we're underscoring kind of the individual circumstances that the propped up could find themselves in. And so like, do you want to risk 60 years
is that really
in jail?
a Major League Baseball decision? Gambling has become legal not due to MLB, but due to, political action in states and at the federal level, right?
No, but haven't all the professional sports leagues insinuated themselves with gambling operations by accepting sponsorship and partnerships?
Yeah, of course. They take ads. That's what major sports leagues do in this country. They sell advertisements.
They were profitable before. They didn't it's somewhat fungible. There's other sources of ad revenue. Everyone wants to hang out with sports athletes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying you're right. The incentive is there to do it, right? But I mean, regardless of what MLB does or what the federal government or state government does to legalize gambling, this I think is a real offense against the spirit of the sport, right? It's never been okay and will never be okay to bet on yourself in a game because it's a slippery slope that inevitably leads to corruption. Hence the Ortiz case, or even worse, that crazy NBA poker gambling thing.
Oh, that was nuts.
That's really a bonkers one. That So my advice to propped up, don't do it. I mean, I hate to sound like the vice police, but there's a reason drugs, drinking, gambling, and prostitution are traditional vices. They are doors into corruption. And
this is the anthropological answer. You got to keep these things separate.
Yes. Remember when we talked about, we took that question in the first season about the guy who had all the doors in his house? And some doors you should not walk through. This is a door you should not walk through. The boundaries are there for a reason. Good fences make good neighbors. That's what Levi-Strauss would say.
But this is the funny thing about gambling, too, because it's like Americans are treating this gambling stuff like an all or nothing thing, where it's like, now that gambling is legal, all the gambling is legal, any particular way you want.
I mean,
and it'd be very different if you had to gamble in person, for example, instead of just using a smartphone.
Yeah, John will know the answer, but how long did it take baseball to bounce back from the 1919 World Series game fixing scandal?
Yeah, I don't know that they have. I mean, it's the first thing that people talk about when this came out. They say, well, this is like the Black Sox. And, there were other incidents in there too. Some of them, Ty Cobb was, throwing games, manipulating standings. It wasn't anything that would have really cost his team the pennant, but it played with the standings. Maybe one team would come in second or third, and bonuses that were attached to it. And that kind of got forgotten. But yet the 1919 scandal, because it really meant a World Series and the idea that people were really throwing games and really in bed with gamblers, was the thing that really broke the hearts of the public. The "say it ain't so Joe" line that still sticks around now. So I think it's like it's letting the fans think we've been following something that isn't authentic is the part that's still sticking around 100 years later, and it hasn't gone away. In my opinion.
Yeah. Why do you think MLB just isn't worried about that?
Oh, first of all, I can't speak for MLB. I think they are worried about it. My guess is that they're worried about it. I mean, they're now starting to. They already had some regulations in place. Players couldn't go on their phones during a game. That I think started because they didn't want them looking and stealing signs from the other team. I'm not really sure why that regulation exactly was put in place, but it was put in place. That's my guess, to stop stealing of signs. But in the case of Clase, he allegedly was texting right before the pitches, before he came out, with gamblers, and apparently the feds claim they have a text chain going back and forth.
Wow.
So there was some measures put in place to try to stop communication during a game, but I understand now that prop bets too are going to be limited to a small amount of money. That's what they're talking about. So, but I don't know. I think it's a slippery slope for them because so much of the game is on, these gambling firms that do a lot of advertising, DraftKings and other places. The game's closely associated to them now. They don't mind if the public gambles. They just don't want the players gambling.
That's going to be a tricky boundary to police.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think so, right? Because I saw one report. I don't want to mention the network or what the report was, but they were talking about the Class A case, and on the bottom of the screen, they had the odds of the night's game playing while they were talking about the
Yeah.
The calls coming from inside the house is what you're saying.
Exactly. Right, exactly.
So, John, is there what is the easiest game to gamble on if you're a player?
Oh, that's a great question. But, I think that professional sports, they're playing at such a high elite level that I think it's not hard in any sport. If you wanted to gamble on yourself as a player, you mean? I mean, you could perform really well and just not at that elite level that puts you over the top. And I don't think the human eye would detect it. I think they found the way they found Ortiz and Class A, or the way that again, this is all alleged. So the reason they suspected it is an integrity firm, a third-party integrity firm, noticed an unusual spike in gambling coming up on certain of Luis Ortiz's pitches. And they noticed it was coming out of New York, New Jersey, and Cleveland. He plays for Cleveland, so that's where. And they said, well, what's the story with those pitches? And then they realized, well, 3 times it happened, and 3 times it was the first pitch of an inning. Pretty easy that would be in a situation where you're not in the middle of a
pattern,
game.
right?
Yeah, it's a pattern, but also a game's not going to be really on the line in that spot. You don't have bases loaded and 2 strikes, it's a clean inning, it's a fresh inning. And so they looked into it, and his delivery looked questionable on a couple of them. So they started digging more deeply. It wasn't baseball that found it. It wasn't the gambling firm that found it. It was a third-party integrity firm. I don't know exactly how they fit into that, but that's how it was reported.
Okay, well, let me break some news here. It can be reported that the third-party integrity firm that found it was the third-party integrity arm of People Stuff Corporation.
I was just, Dan
I realized
as I was saying it. Yeah.
I want to say in collusion with our friend Peter Thiel and his little company Palantir, we discovered that pattern. Yeah.
The eyes are everywhere.
Okay.
John, this story speaking of these,
Dan, you got to wrap this up at some point.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay.
This unusual spike of activity, it reminds me of how a cheating scandal got discovered at my undergraduate university. So I was in this big lecture class with like 200 people, and I want to say like half the football team was in this class. So, 10, 20, 30 football guys. And we were doing one of these blue book exams where you're all sitting in the lecture theater and everyone's, writing on the exam. And then there's a spike in activity where they're all going to the bathroom. So one's going to the bathroom, one's going to the bathroom, one's going to the bathroom, one's going to the bathroom. And, the professor checked out the bathroom and didn't see anything wrong. Keeps going to the bathroom, keeps going to the bathroom, keeps going to the bathroom. They discover that in the handicap stall, there was basically a scroll written on the toilet paper with all the answers on it. And so you could just kind of unroll the scroll and then roll it back up.
Yeah. Like an activity.
Yeah, I also lecture in big lecture halls, and that we sometimes catch people cheating much the same way. I have nothing so elaborate, but the going to the bathroom is the easiest tell. So.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll wrap this one up. Okay. Michael's stance, again, was no vices ever. So there you have it. Michael has been a cop all along.
I'm just saying there's something to guard against. That's all.
Michael, protect society.
No, it's just people are fallible. You have to watch out for it. Yeah.
Michael, standard bearer for human frailty.
Yeah,
remember,
exactly.
If you have a question, you can write to us or leave us a voice memo at people-stuff.com. You guys ready for the second question?
Yeah, I'm ready. Born ready.
Here is our second question. On the line writes, Michael, Dan, You are both simple men, so
True.
I will use
Yeah.
small words and keep this question brief.
Thank God.
Someone who gets us.
Someone who understands us. Thank you.
I am a tennis casual and can remember a time before widespread automated line judging at the highest levels of the sport. I also note that such automation has spread or is spreading to basically every other major sport, whether it's automated balls and strikes in baseball or video replay in basketball. Everywhere the human referee is under assault, and we're being deprived of the pathos of future John McEnroes. Put plainly, is this a good thing? And if not, how do we stop it? Please be clear and clever in your reply and avoid meandering.
Oh my
Sincerely, on the line.
Is this from a former student? This complaint about meandering is way too familiar. I mean,
Yeah, we read this one from one of Michael's student evaluations, actually.
Oh yeah, meanders. Meanders. Yeah. So now I put it in my opening day slideshow. Warning, meanders. If you don't like it, leave. Okay. Anyways, so same for you on the line. Okay. But I actually agree with the writer that removing the human stain from judgments is a mistake and takes away from the enjoyment of the game. I mean, half the fun of sports is
Did you say the human stain?
The human stain, that's right. The human error that comes with refereeing and judging, right? I mean, half the fun of sports is complaining about the refs after a bad call, and taking that away is harmful, I think. It doesn't make the call any more objective. It just moves the point of judgment from easy view. Now we don't know who's making the judgments. And is it an algorithm? Where is this judgment that's being made? The judgment's still being made. It's just out of our view. And I think that's a terrible development. Yeah.
John, where is this judgment being made?
Yeah, well, I think sports fans, I'm an old school guy, and I tend to agree with you because kind of like the fun is arguing over a bad call and screaming and throwing things at the TV. However, there were some plays. Do you guys know about the Galarraga game, the quote imperfect game? Armando Galarraga threw a perfect game.
I'm sure we know about it, but you should probably tell the listeners.
Okay.
Yeah.
Armando Galarraga threw a perfect game. Or I shouldn't say threw. I guess he did. I don't know if he did or not. There are 27 batters that come up in a baseball game. If you get them all out, no base runners, that's considered a perfect game. And it's a remarkable feat. And if you do that, or even throw a no-hitter, which is the same thing, but maybe you walk a player or there's an error, but you get everybody out, nobody gets a hit off you, no-hitter. That ball goes to the Hall of Fame, and you're, part of baseball history. And Galarraga had 26 of those 27 outs, and on the last one, James Joyce, the first base umpire, made the wrong call on a not so close play at first base, and he ruins the guy's perfect game. And Galarraga then got the next guy out. So there were 28 batters. The 27th one got on by a bad call. After the game, James Joyce, the ump, looked and realized, wow, I did blow that call, and I cost this guy a shot at history and immortality in the Hall of Fame. He went to the league and he said, I made a mistake. That was a blown call. And if you reverse my call and I'm ready to reverse it, the game's over. It doesn't really affect anything because the person after him made out anyway. It's not like there were runners on base or anything. The game just ended at that point. Baseball wouldn't overturn it. They said the game is the game. And they cost Galarraga a shot at the Hall of Fame. Now, I do believe he's in the Hall of Fame. His ball is there anyway, known as the imperfect game, because everybody knew of the bad call. And Galarraga was a really, really exceptionally understanding about it. The next day he came out with the lineup card and brought it to James Joyce, which normally the manager does that. And the two of them shook hands and he said, you're human and you made a mistake. I understand. But I think that was one of the games where people started saying, we need to have video review. We need to start doing something. And now they're going to start with the automatic balls and strikes, starting to go even deeper and deeper. But I think that was the impetus behind, let's start doing something about this.
Yeah, but I mean, look what happened to Galarraga. I mean, he is perhaps more famous now than he would have been if he had just thrown a perfect game.
Yeah, well, there's an argument for that, too. He did say, I think he did petition baseball. I'm not sure. I think he read saying he'd like to have it reversed, but it's not reversed. But in a way, you're right. He's bigger than the perfect game because it's hard to name many people who have thrown perfect games except the really famous guys. But a lot of baseball fans, everybody knows Galarraga.
And who would
because
have
he was the
known?
one who threw it and had it snatched away.
And who would have guessed James Joyce had a second career as a baseball umpire? That
Yeah,
explains why he's always wearing those big,
umpire
thick
as a young
glasses
man.
around Dublin, right?
Right. Such an incredible writer and then an umpire as
And
well.
then an umpire on top of it. Amazing.
But like that story doesn't exist if you have the automated balls and strikes. I mean, the ball goes to the Hall of Fame, and if I'm understanding you correctly, it's not like this guy is being inducted into the Hall of Fame. It's just that perfect games go to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, right. Yeah. The balls go to the Hall of Fame.
So, but I mean, you don't have this human story if you have the automated balls and strikes.
Exactly.
Thing.
And what is sports if it's
Jim
not made
Joyce-
up about stories about humans?
Jim Joyce was not an ump where people looked at him and said, this guy is not a good ump. He was a veteran. He really knew what he was doing. So it shows that anybody can make a mistake like that at any point.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, John.
Yeah.
We're going to get anthropological on you for just a second here.
Oh, boy.
Right? So when we're doing games, when humans make games, they're making these artificial realms where they have these as-if rules. And baseball is exactly that, right? Like, we like hitting the ball with the stick. We're going to create a field. We're going to make up rules, and it's going to be this imaginary space where the rules obtain, where you throw a ball this way, it's a ball. You throw a ball that way, it's a strike. You have an umpire calling it. And, like, you go into the parking lot, those rules do not obtain, right? It's just it's a special place where the game happens. And, the anthropologist will never tire you of saying that, like, when humans make games, they're acting out specific values that they have, like what fair play is, what fun is, what competition is, all this kind of stuff. And, the cosmology of baseball with human umpires is very different than having computers spit out whether you're right or wrong. And it seems to me that you're losing something if you don't have the human in the place of kind of an Old Testament God who doesn't care and just says, right, wrong, one way or the other. Like we're substituting gods here. And I think that's kind of dangerous.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know what you mean. I think, what you were talking about with anthropologists creating this game within a park, the players themselves carry a lot of projections. Like, the fans project roles onto players and umps. There's the guy who's the warrior, and this guy's the veteran, and this guy's the beleaguered veteran. This guy's the young rookie.
The written rules and then the unwritten rules. So you've got the oral Torah and the written Torah.
Yeah, exactly.
But
and that applies to umps too. There are umps that fans go in not like thinking, oh, we got this ump behind the plate today. This is going to be a tough game.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, to pick up on Dan's point, I mean, I think what you're really saying, Dan, is what you really want is if the umpire is God. Okay, what you really want is a God you can argue back with, right?
Yeah.
That you can negotiate with, that you can complain about. That's
you
what
want
you want.
A sacrifice to mean something to the God.
And
we know that umps do this, right? If they fuck one up, then they'll pay him back on another one. They'll never admit it, but there's like this sort of understanding with leniency and leeway.
We want our rep umps to be like the God of the Book of Job, right? Where we can argue with them and complain about how unfair everything is. That's what we want out of sports.
Now, do you guys know that there was an ump with the nickname God?
I'm not surprised.
Just one?
Just one?
Doug Harvey. They would say, like, the players said he never had a bad call. Like, you don't argue with God. Like this, that if he calls it.
So funny.
Yeah, that's it. Like, his nickname was God. I'm not sure. It might have been Johnny Bench. I'm not sure who nicknamed him that, but yeah, he was God, Doug Harvey.
What does that make all the other umps?
Lesser gods.
Children of a lesser god.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know.
Exactly. That's right. Lesser gods. That's what makes them in the cosmology. Yeah. So there you have it. People stuff is an imperfect game. And when you watch sports, you're watching cosmology in action. Applied cosmology.
Yeah. Which values do you want? Do you want to worship an idol or do you want to worship God?
Exactly. Exactly. Speaking of which, now it's time for the fixing shit section of our podcast, where we come up to solutions for life's problems. Dan, what are we fixing today?
Well, I would like to continue illustrating how little I know about the topic at hand.
Oh, you're
and
doing a
suggest
great job
a fix.
so far. Yeah.
I would like to suggest a fix for baseball pitchers.
Dan.
I can't wait to hear this one. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I can't wait to hear what's wrong with baseball pitchers in your Dan Salalis's opinion. Yes.
Well, you guys are familiar with Tommy John surgery, right?
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
I've had 3 myself. No, I haven't. But yeah, I'm familiar.
Well, yeah, it's that little bit of connective tissue, that ligament in the is it a ligament? Is it a tendon? What is it?
I think it's a ligament.
Elbow.
Ligament.
Yeah, it's a ligament in the elbow that pops from the stress of having done too much baseball pitching. And we're at a point in the game where you'll have professional pitchers who have multiples of these Tommy John surgeries.
Yes.
So like they're completely destroying their arms. They're going through an invasive reconstructive surgery. They're sitting out for a year. They're coming back and pitching, and then they're blowing up their arms again.
Yes.
It's a completely psychotic thing to expect a human to do for a game. So my solution is that we limit the speed of pitches to 90 miles an hour. You can't throw faster than that, and we'll save the pitcher's elbows. And there are some salutary benefits to this. If we're not worried about velocity, if we're not worried about people popping their elbows and doing load management and all this stuff, you might get the dramatic return of pitchers pitching complete games. People like that.
Oh, Dan, I mean, where do you even start with this? I mean, look, this is not a
You
problem.
want me to show myself out?
Yeah, please. If I could cover your screen, I would.
Just
Look,
remove yourself. Remove
yourself. I think you've disqualified yourself from the sports episode for one. But look, it's not a problem because you can fix it with Tommy John surgery. Problem solved. I mean,
that's just too much to ask of an athlete. That's crazy. You got to blow your arm
You lose
up.
a season. I mean, it takes a year for that, you know.
And it's uncertain as to whether
you
or
get
not
a year
you'll be
off
fixed.
and you get paid, and what's
But
wrong
like
with
the
that?
real issue, honestly, is that their surgeries are coming earlier and earlier. So it's happening to guys who are never even going to have major league careers. You'll get high school athletes, college athletes, minor league athletes. Like that's fucked up. Someone who's never going to get the payday has to blow their arm up.
Okay, you can spend the rest of this episode defending your ridiculous take on this, but let me just say,
Michael,
it is against the
dismemberment for high school students.
Yeah. Well, it's against the spirit of the game to put an artificial limitation.
Oh, the spirit of the game.
Yeah, exactly. It's against the idea of competition to say you can't throw more
Baseball
than
has a geist,
90.
and it is very important that you defend it.
All right, listen, wait a minute. Wait, guys.
Okay,
all
go
right,
ahead, John.
I'm going to become an anthropologist. I don't know if this is anthropology exactly, but here's what I'm thinking.
Neither do we. It's close enough.
In what sport? You just said before, as an anthropology looks at the game, right? And it's a society that we look at and we kind of see values of our own society. I'm looking at it saying, in what sport is an athlete incentivized to underperform? Like you're asking people to go and watch and say, this is great. He could throw 100, but he only threw 88.
Exactly.
I love this all the
Exactly.
time. We do this all the time. We police the boundaries of, like, for example, in baseball, what type of bat you can use.
No,
and people are
that's a good
zealously
example.
competitive about, like, how big or how small the bat can be. Like,
NASCAR's
we
a
don't let
better
someone
example.
knock the shit out of a catcher anymore when
But
they're
if
sliding
that's
into
the
home.
case, yeah. Well, if that's the case, change the ball so it can't be thrown as hard.
No,
Make
but
it a
like
little
you're not
bigger
allowed
and
to
harder.
assault people
Exactly.
in the base path. Like we don't let people do that.
Right.
Well,
No,
should.
but because
Michael thinks we should.
some
John,
civility.
do you think people should be assaulted in the
No.
base path?
I've also seen that happen, by the way. in baseball.
Yeah.
But no, I think that if they have a different ball, but you know, if you had a heavier ball, then that would be tougher on the shoulder. I don't know what the fix is. You're right that Tommy John surgery is a problem because it's almost as if when you're following a pitcher, it's like, well, he hasn't had his Tommy John yet.
It's coming like in a year or whatever.
But it's
But
not
you
a problem
can't
because the
ask a
surgery is
pitcher-
so good.
It is a problem because, first of all, you shouldn't have people do that like as a routine fact of sports. But second of all, it's the same thing with the gambling problem. It's not just baseball; it's a society thing. And so what you're doing is you're feeding children into this whole sports complexy thing, and like they're gonna pop their elbows and never have careers or paydays.
Dan, that's like me
not
telling an
necessarily.
anthropologist, okay, I want you to research this, but I want you to limit your sources to 8 sources. Like,
Well,
how would you
you may be uncovering how parochial anthropology is. I see no problem with this so far.
That's also a good ChatGPT prompt for this question. So look into try it. Okay, but look. I think this is a non-problem. It's fine. Throw as hard as you want. You know the surgery is coming up. People plan for it. So it's not that big a problem. But there are 2 real problems with baseball. First of all, what happened to the knuckleball? It's the single greatest pitch. Where did all the knuckleballers
But you'd get
go?
more knuckleballs if you limited the speed of pitches.
Okay, maybe you can win me over. I do love a good knuckleball. That's
John,
my
I
favorite.
think you
thing.
know
Wait,
a
I have
lot
a
about this one.
question
Can you
there.
tell Michael where the knuckleballers went?
I can't. Well, I don't know. It is a great pitch, but you can't really control it. That's the problem. I mean,
That's the fun
knuckleballers.
part. Yeah.
Well, it's hard for pitchers to kind of dominate. I mean, there have been great knuckleballers, but it's hard to dominate with a knuckleball. But you're right that it would save arms. But Dan, I think that if there were knuckleballers and there were a lot of knuckleballers, you would then want to raise the minimum speed using your theory. So they would have to throw between, like, let's say 83 and 92.
No. I love
Mm.
wildly off-speed pitches. I think that is a great part of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Well,
well, there should be more knuckleballers probably, but I don't
Yeah.
think for the Tommy John reason. I just think that it's a cool pitch, and why not? It's effective. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a cool pitch. The other big problem with baseball is, and I have to ask you this, whither 10-cent beer night? Why are there no more cheap beer nights at baseball games? Last time I went to a game, it was $20 a beer night, not nearly as much fun. Yeah.
Are you asking me that? Because I don't think that that's a great idea, especially on bat day when they're handing out free bats and everybody's,
Well, I mean, the human referees, the 10-cent beer night, the Tommy John surgery. I mean, this is
In
what
the
makes the
cosmology
knuckleball.
of baseball, Michael wants the god to be a trickster chaos god, is what he's saying.
This is exactly right, Dan. This is exactly right. That's right. Because I want my baseball game to be delivered with a side of chaos that it doesn't normally have. Yeah.
Michael basically wants a discount beer garden where a baseball game happens to be playing.
Right.
Yes.
And Dan, you
Yes.
want the guys not throwing over 90.
Well, I want more knuckleballs.
This anthropology baseball may be the worst sport I've ever heard about. It is-
It's ending up a lot like that. You ever see that
Anthropology
Monty Python sketch where they had the philosopher soccer game? They had the
Well, no, it would solve gambling too, because nobody would be gambling
No
on
one
it
would
because
care.
nobody would care, right?
it would be impossible to gamble on it. You can't really gamble on a knuckleball, right?
But how do you actually fix something like the Tommy John problem if we disagree with Michael and accept that it is a problem?
The surgery is the fix. It's fixed.
Baseball's tried. I mean, they're limiting pitchers to 100 pitches usually per game. That's one of the bigger ones. But also they have more starters now than they used to in the old days. It used to be like a 4-man rotation, and then it went to a 5, so you'd get an extra day off. I don't know what to do, because I don't know what they can do, because the incentive to make more money is there if you throw harder. And the incentive to make more money, by the way, as a batter, is by hitting more home runs. And what happened to bunting? While we're talking about what happened to knuckleball, all of a sudden in the postseason, they're calling on guys to bunt. They don't really know how to bunt. They haven't done it all season. They didn't
That's
cover it in
true.
spring training, because the incentive is to make more money by playing to the analytics, which is home runs.
You're giving me shit, but you're talking about wanting more bunting. You're talking about wanting more junk ball pitching. These are all things that would happen if you lowered the speed of the pitches.
Nah.
No,
But it goes against the spirit of the game, Dan. This isn't anthropology. It's sports. You can't make a career out of underperforming. Stephen Black, our last guest, has made a career out of underperforming, but that's why he's an anthropologist.
Steve,
not
I'm
a
so sorry.
sports
You're not
person.
even on this episode, and Michael is still coming at you hard.
By the way, there's a theme to this episode. You guys might not realize it. We talk about the Galarraga game, right? Where he became famous for the imperfect game. How famous is Tommy John for having the surgery?
Exactly.
The Tommy John surgery. I think, by the way, I think it was a number of years ago, he signed his original X-ray and sold it for quite a bit of money and gave it, and the money went to charity. He gave the money to charity.
That's awesome.
But
I
think
somebody
Hall of Fame,
owns
too.
that X-ray. Somebody out there, some collector owns that X-ray.
His son, Tommy John Jr., is a kind of internet famous physical therapist too. So the fame is into perpetuity. Yeah.
Right.
Wow, see, human frailty. We can all agree that we go to sports for human frailty.
There you have it. Dan has fixed baseball pitchers.
I don't think we're all agreeing on much, but let's keep going. Let's see where this goes.
Well, let's take a break now. When we get back, we've got one more question. We'll see if we can reach agreement on that, but I certainly hope not. So. All right. Our last question. Sunny but sunless on the field writes, "Hi guys, I'm a 30-year-old accountant executive with a major tech firm. We live in the Bay Area, and it is sunny most of the year, so field sports are popular and available. I have a daughter, 8, and a son, 9. My daughter plays several field sports, softball, soccer, and soon lacrosse. She is on track to play in a traveling soccer league next year. She must be pretty good. My son, though, has zero interest and just wants to play video games and hang out inside all day. I don't want him to be like the doughy incel-adjacent software engineers I work with all day. 22 years old and no social skills. Inside, I'm dying. How do I convince my son to play? Signed, Sunny but Sunless on the Field.
Oh, well, I mean, not everyone has to be a sports person. I think, contrary to what Sunny but Sunless thinks, not every non-sports person is going to become a doughy incel.
Yeah, I mean, some of them become like rail-thin incels.
Yeah. Some of them. Well, I'm not going to continue this one.
Okay.
But like, if you can just separate the sports thing out, it sounds like the Sunny but Sunless is more worried about their kid being well-adjusted, sociable, not a misogynist. And like, if that's actually your goal, there's lots of ways to do that.
Yeah. I'm going to butt in here because I heard some other things in that question, though. I mean, there's something about being physically active. I think Michael touched on that, and not living a sedentary lifestyle. But also, what about, you learn teamwork in sports. You learn, there are, like you said before, the anthropological baseball game that you were inventing, or even the one that's been invented, is really like there are values placed on certain things in there. And maybe he wants his son or daughter to learn that by playing. I mean, I guess you could do it in an orchestra. There's teamwork there, but it's not physically active. And there's other benefits. I wrote a book. I co-wrote a book with Wheezy Shapiro on the Spinks brothers, Leon and Michael Spinks, who were champions a while ago. Oh, they turned to boxing to get out of their circumstances. I don't get the sense that this is the situation here, but there's something about sports for some people. That's a way out of their predicament, their situation, their circumstances.
Yeah, that's a good point. And there's also something, I mean, why is he so invested in his son doing all these field sports? Why doesn't he just go watch his daughter do all these field sports?
Yeah, it sounds like she's killing it. So
yeah, there's some kind of gender issue going on here, and the gender stereotypes that's going on here. I mean, that I just
there's also
flag,
reasons that people would not be interested in sports. Like I was in Little League baseball for like 4 years, like up through middle school or so.
But yet you know nothing about baseball. How is that possible?
Not a damn thing.
It's
but
amazing.
Like, the reason I didn't keep with it was basically it was a showcase for the coach's son to be a pitcher. And so all the rest of us were just sort of interchangeable Little League cogs around this, 11-year-old pitcher or whatever, and the coach who really wanted his son to do that. And, we didn't learn teamwork. We learned that it was a one-man show and we were the roadies for it.
Oh, fair enough. But I mean, that's true. I mean, that's true. That does happen. But what about that old saying, right? The Battle of Waterloo was won on the playing fields of Eton. I mean, John is right.
No, the follow-up to that is, and every subsequent battle was lost there.
Well, I mean, yeah, but you remember the victories and forget the loss. That's what sports is about, Dan. Learning to win and learning to lose, accepting loss. See? So it works. It works no matter what. Actually, I kind of suspect lurking in the background here is this might have more to do with college admissions than we want to assume.
Yeah, I mean we're back in the Bay Area. We're back with the professional managerial class person. We're back with this traveling sports
the traveling
teams.
league. I already flagged this gender issue, which is like his daughter already does these things that he wants. Does he want for his son, or does he just want to watch his son do it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
But there's also a class aspect here. The traveling team is expensive, right? That's not cheap.
Yeah.
Well, and I know the writer was really excited about the advent of lacrosse, which
I mean, if you tell me a sport you're going to get your child into just for college admissions, that sport will be lacrosse or maybe fencing, right? These are the two good ones. Not to give up my future admissions plans for my daughter, but still, yeah.
Baseball in particular is an expensive game to come up and learn because you have the traveling teams. You have it weeds out a lot of very talented lower income players.
So you got to do the traveling teams. Like you can't just play on like your high school team.
No, I mean, if you want to really get good, you go on the traveling teams. You're playing year round. You're working your way up through the system. Even the equipment's bad. You need a field to play on, and it's a baseball field. You're not playing just on an open thing of grass. I mean, it's prepared. There's a lot involved in it, and it's not like basketball, where in the inner city you could play basketball in a park,
a half court.
On a half court.
Oh yeah, and there are courts everywhere.
Yeah, there's no half court for baseball. I mean, you need an entire manicured field that's cared for year
with a
round.
mound, and it's very precise.
Yeah,
baseball has a program called RBI, Reviving Baseball in the Inner Cities. I don't know how effective it's been though. They want to get more African Americans involved in the sport. I mean, there used to be many more in the 80s. And now there's a lot of recruitment is going on from the Dominican Republic, and it's switched. The model has switched, but to bring people up from inside the states, they're trying, but I don't know how effective those programs have been. It's an expensive sport to play if you're a teenager.
Yeah, and these traveling teams, it's also true. Like the feeders for the major leagues, be it basketball or baseball or football, which is the big sport we haven't really talked about, goes through like private academies at the middle school and high school level, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah,
very
yeah.
expensive
like
summer training with
private academy in Florida or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But the proper anthropological take on this question is this, right? The focus on competitive sports at such a tender age reflects America's real preoccupation, which is converting childhood fun into a machine that turns out winners and losers for adult consumption. This is a brutal, brutal country.
And you know what? The letter writer appears to have the resources to not force his children into this.
No, yeah, absolutely. But I mean, if the letter writer wants to get his son off the couch, I mean, has he tried traveling? I mean, what if you go on a long hike without electronics? I mean, I know it all sounds very 19th century, but it's very effective, right? Why don't you take him backpacking for a week or 10 days? Huh?
Sounds like you're advocating the Boy Scouts.
Sure. Or you could just take him hiking for a week or 10 days and get yourself in maybe a semi-survival situation.
Put down that Nintendo Switch, grab your rucksack, and we're going hiking for 10 days.
Exactly.
I mean, I think that would actually have the salutary benefit of terrifying the child into playing a team sport so they don't have to go on 10-day death marches.
Precisely. Well, I mean, a death march might be fun. You might enjoy it.
Well, John, you got anything else on this one?
No, I think we covered that.
All right. Well, there you have it. Stop commodifying your children. Just hang out and have a human relationship over a 10-day hike, I guess. Speaking of human relationships, that's the end of this week's episode. This week's episode of People Stuff was brought to you by People Ball. People Ball combines the anticipation and release of extra innings baseball, the fan culture and effervescence of European football, and the peak physical performance of the Olympic Games. Not only that, but People Ball is enjoyed by all people everywhere. Whatever your gender, race, or creed, People Ball is the peak human experience. People Ball, played where eagles soar. That's it for People Stuff. You can find all of our episodes and ask us questions at people-stuff.com. You can also sign up for our newsletter and subscribe to People Stuff Premium. That's people-stuff.com. Thanks for listening, and until next time, I'm Dan.
And I'm Michael.
And I'm John, and I thank you guys for having me on. It was a lot
John,
of fun.
Thank you for coming on the show. You're the best.
Yeah, thank you for putting up with our voluminous ignorance.
Yeah. Well, that's mutual. So thank you guys for putting up with mine.
That was fantastic.